She never liked talking about the day everything fell apart. To most people, it was just a Tuesday, another ordinary, forgettable day. But for Emily Turner, it became the moment her entire world cracked open. Emily had always been the kind of person who carried more than she admitted. She smiled even when her stomach was in knots. She apologized even when she wasn't wrong. She made everyone around her feel safe, while she drowned silently inside her own thoughts. She worked long hours in a gray corporate office, typing emails she didn't care about, sitting through meetings where no one remembered her name afterward. People thought she was quiet, shy, introverted. But the truth was much simpler. She was exhausted. Exhausted from trying. Exhausted from pretending. Exhausted from hoping that one day someone would finally understand her without her having to explain. For years, Emily had felt like she was fading, becoming transparent, like a person who existed only in the corners of other people's lives. Then came the day when everything collapsed at once. Her relationship ended. Her job threatened layoffs. Her closest friends stopped responding. Her rent increased. Her insomnia returned. And the last thread holding her together snapped when she received a message that read, "I think you're too emotional. You should toughen up." It wasn't the words. It was the realization that she had spent years giving her heart to people who only took. That night, Emily left her office late. The city was cold, sharp, indifferent. People passed her by without looking. Her chest felt tight, like she was breathing through a straw. She kept walking until she reached the old bridge near the train station, a place she used to go as a teenager when she needed to think. Back then, it felt poetic. Tonight, it felt like the world was asking her a question she didn't know how to answer. She sat on the edge of the bench, her hands trembling. She didn't want to disappear. She just wanted the pain to stop. She just wanted someone to see her, really see her, without judgment or expectation. But life rarely gives us what we ask for. It gives us what we need. Emily was staring down at her hands when she felt someone sit beside her. Not close, not intrusive, just near enough that she could sense a presence. A man, middle-aged, wearing a thick coat and a scarf, not speaking, not moving much, just sitting there. She didn't look at him. She didn't want anyone to think she needed help. She didn't want pity. But then something strange happened. For the first time in months, her breathing slowed, her thoughts softened, her shoulders relaxed. She couldn't explain it. The silence between them wasn't heavy, it was grounding, like someone had placed a hand on the storm inside her chest and whispered, "Easy, you're safe for a moment." Minutes passed, then maybe 20, maybe 40. Time was hard to measure when her mind stopped racing for the first time in so long. She didn't talk. He didn't talk. But in that silence, something inside her cracked open, not in pain, but in release. It felt like someone finally noticed she was hurting, without asking her to perform her pain, without demanding explanations. Just presence. Just a quiet reminder that she wasn't invisible. Emily kept her gaze on the ground, but her heart felt a tiny shift, a micro rebalance, a thread of warmth that she hadn't felt in ages. She wiped her eyes discreetly. The man remained still, not turning, not staring, not pressuring. He was just there. And sometimes there is enough to pull someone back from the edge of themselves. Eventually, Emily stood up. She didn't know what to say, didn't know how to thank him. She didn't even know if he understood what he had done. She nodded slightly, a silent thank you, and walked away. He didn't follow, he didn't smile, he didn't speak, but he had already done everything she needed. That night, Emily didn't go home defeated. She didn't go home empty. She went home with a question echoing in her mind. If a stranger could sit with me in silence and make me feel less alone, maybe I can learn to do that for myself. And that was the beginning of something quiet, subtle, but unmistakably real. She didn't know it yet, but her life had just changed. The next morning, Emily woke up before her alarm for the first time in months. Her body was still tired, but there was something different moving inside her. A spark, a whisper, a pull toward the idea that maybe, just maybe, she deserved better than survival mode. She made coffee, opened her curtains, and let the cold sunlight touch her face. It wasn't warm, but it was honest. And honesty was something she had been missing for a long time. She sat on the floor with her mug and whispered to herself, "One thing at a time." That became her mantra, one thing at a time. She didn't try to fix everything at once. She didn't demand perfection. She didn't force herself to be happy. She just chose movement, gentle, deliberate movement. On Wednesday, she cleaned her desk at work, removing papers and old emails that reminded her of everything she hated. On Thursday, she took a different route home and bought herself a pastry she used to love. On Friday, she texted the friend who had drifted away, not begging, not explaining, just reaching out from a place of calm. The days weren't easy. Healing never is. But every time she felt overwhelmed, she remembered the stranger on the bench. Silent, present, grounded. She began trying to be that presence for herself. Instead of forcing herself to be strong, she allowed herself to rest. Instead of telling herself, "Stop crying," she asked, "What do you need right now?" Instead of numbing her feelings, she learned to sit beside them, the way the stranger sat beside her. 2 weeks later, Emily returned to the bridge. Not because she was in pain, but because she wanted to honor the moment that changed her life. She sat on the same bench, breathing calmly. This time, she wasn't trembling. She wasn't drowning. She wasn't invisible. She was present. After a few minutes, she noticed an elderly woman walking slowly toward the benches. The woman seemed tired, carrying more weight in her expression than in her hands. Without thinking, Emily moved slightly to one side, making space. The woman sat down. Neither of them spoke. Birds passed overhead. Cars hummed in the distance. The river pushed gently against the supports of the bridge. Silence. Comfortable, familiar silence. And Emily understood something then. The stranger that night didn't save her. He reminded her of how to save herself. We are never transformed by people who fix our problems. We are transformed by people who hold space for us to feel safe enough to fix our own. The elderly woman sighed softly. Emily didn't ask why. She didn't pry. She didn't offer advice. She simply existed beside her, offering the same quiet presence that once held her together. And for a brief moment, she felt the full circle of her healing. Emily Turner, the woman who once felt invisible, had become a lighthouse. Not loud, not bright, not demanding, but steady. A small, unwavering light in the corner of someone else's darkness. When the woman stood up to leave, she touched Emily's shoulder gently and whispered, "Gracias." Emily's eyes softened. She didn't need to know the story behind that gratitude. She didn't need words to feel the weight of it. She simply nodded, just like she had with the stranger, just like life had nodded back at her. That night, Emily went home with a feeling she had not felt in years: pride. Not pride in achievement, not pride in productivity, but pride in existing. Pride in having stayed, in having chosen herself, in having learned to sit with her own pain without letting it define her. And more importantly, pride in becoming a safe place for someone else. Because that's how healing works. It is never loud, it is never fast, it is never clean. It happens quietly, in small moments, in silent benches, in strangers who show up at the exact moment we need someone, even if they never say a word. Emily never saw the man from the bridge again, but she carried his presence with her, not as a memory of pain, but as a reminder. Sometimes the gentlest moments change a life forever. Sometimes silence is the greatest form of love. And from that day on, Emily Turner lived not just to survive, but to shine. Softly, steadily, like a quiet miracle no one expected.